The Consumer Value Award by Nigeria's consumer-centric agency BrandXchange is set for 15th of March this year to recognize brands who are providing qualitative products and services in the marketplace. The Consumer Value Awards is an online periodic award program in Nigeria to recognize Nigerian entrepreneurs, innovators, professionals, corporate organizations, inventors, policymakers who are offering qualitative products and services, with a goal to encourage more consumer-centric services and encourage innovative product offerings and commitment towards enhancing the overall consumer experience. Managing Director and Lead Strategist at Absolute PR Ltd-the, a parent company to BrandXchange, Mr. Akonte Ekine, shares with FirstNigeriaTV the core ideals behind the consumer-centered yearly awards.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You're welcome to chat with the First Nigeria TV. I am Ojomo Olusegun.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity.
May I get to know your name and your designation at BrandXchange?
Okay, so my name is Akonte Ekine. I am the founder of BrandXchange, and we convey the Consumer Value Awards.
All right, that's good. Could you let us into what the Consumer Value Awards is all about? Talking from its inception, its purpose, its vision, and its objectives.
Okay, so the first thing is that Consumer Value Awards, it's all about the consumer's behavior in the marketplace. What the consumer does is basically to exchange its money with the value that the product itself has brought into the marketplace. So what is the vision of BrandXchange for backing the Consumer Value Awards? Is to enhance the narrative in the marketplace. And what's this narrative? We are in a climate where service has been pushed backward. And we think that it's important that we create fresh conversation in the marketplace that will enable us to look at service, because we are all consumers and we all deserve better service. You can't be paying for things that you don't enjoy. That is the reason why we said, okay, let's start validating brand claims in the marketplace by consumers, not by even the manufacturers. Yes, they advertise to tell you this product is good, but if you go to the market, based on your experience, you can come back and tell your other consumers and help them to, at least as much as possible, save time and cost to be able to take decisions in the marketplace. So what do we intend to achieve? We want a situation where more and more consumers understand their rights. Interestingly, March 15th every year is Consumer Rights Day. So on March 15th every year, we plan to unveil brands to be voted for. In this instance, we've done it in the last 2 editions, where we have over 50 brands being voted for as best value for money in the marketplace in this country, whether local brands, whether international brands. The important thing is that people have nominated brands within a month based on their experience in the marketplace, and then it's time for them to come out and then vote those brands as value for money brands. And the best of brands that wins in terms of numbers of votes from consumers get to be awarded what we call the badge of honor as best value for money brand. So the first edition happened 2 years ago, and we are privileged to have brands like the Dangote Cement on board, and they were celebrated for being responsible brands in the marketplace. The second edition, out of the 50 brands, Glo was voted the telecoms brand, best value for money brand in terms of data and telecoms brand, and they were also celebrated. We have insurance brand. So across this broad spectrum of the Nigerian market, we have consumers nominating brands. We had 300 brands jostle for awards in the last edition. This year, we are targeting about 500 brands coming on board to jostle for this same set of awards that will be voted for by consumers. How do we want to achieve it? It is a very transparent process. All you need to do is to visit the website www.consumervalueawards.com. and then you get to vote for your brands based on the category that you think the brand is playing.
You already talked about the innovations you are adding to make this year's event a big time? I was going to ask that next. But now let me ask you, why exactly did Brand Exchange focus especially on consumer value awards as a feature, and in what manners has it turned inbuilt in the organization?
Okay, so we are all consumers, and the best marketer of a brand or of a product in the marketplace is a consumer. It's called referral. On the average, all of us in our various community talks about, oh, we went to market. And growing up, I like to speak to you like this. Growing up, my mom, when she goes into a petrol show market, the basis for going to the market is that somebody in the labor movement said, oh, that product is good. Once that product is confirmed good by a neighbor, you don't need another person to tell you, or any advert that they are doing to tell you that, oh, that's the product you should buy. So everybody just gravitates towards that product. So what are we trying to do? We want consumers to speak on the goodness of service they experience, which will become a subtle advice to service providers and manufacturers on the need to up their game. If consumer A speaks well of brand A, more consumers will go towards brand A. Because of where we are today, particularly those brands that are monopoly, we don't have options. But there are brands that there are alternatives in the marketplace, like the custard segment, or flake segment, or detergent segment. We need to look for alternatives. We need to come out and tell brands that, look, you are not doing well, you are not offering the right service. And in doing this, we up the game of quality in the market. Nigeria is suffering from one thing: service index is even poor in this country, and we need to up that game. We can't continue to pay for service we don't enjoy. You can't be buying poor medicine or buying fake tires and then getting accidents. Yes, there are regulators that are doing their job, but I think that if we consumers even come out and say, oh, this tire is not good, don't use it, by voting for the tire that is good, that alone will tell anybody that wants to bring in tire or manufacturers of tire to say, look, we have to do the right thing, because somebody somewhere will create a voting opportunity and they will vote down this brand. You know, that's one part of what we're trying to achieve. Now, we're not doing it alone. The very first edition itself got us the Advertising Regulatory Commission to be a member, the Nigerian Communications Commission to be on board, and the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, which is responsible for consumer activity in Nigeria, to be on board. These three regulators have consistently supported the program by attending and giving goodwill messages, which is more like a message to an average consumer in the marketplace. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority was part of the event last year. They were ably represented. The DG was ably represented by a senior staff in the agency. And what we think is that we are trying to contribute to the narrative about consumer rights, consumer satisfaction index, and the need for better quality service in our country.
Yes. Thank you. I was going to ask the next question as does Brand Exchange partner with other fellow field practitioners, private and public sector organizations to ensure the success? You have answered that. But I want to know now, what role is the public sector playing in this activity?
Okay, so basically, the thing is because we want to build what I like to call integrity. You know, we are not asking anybody to do anything except, look, just go there and nominate and vote. That's it. The regulators are basically supporting us with their voice of messaging to say, look, what these people are doing is right. We need more people to be in the space. Fortunately, I was at the Consumer International Conference last year, and we see a lot of government organizations across the world talking about the need for more private initiative to take up the consumer conversation. Why? Because it's not a one-man show. Consumerism itself is a movement, because we are all consumers. At the end of the day, everybody, even the man that is a regulator, is a consumer. So he needs to also ensure that he does the right thing to get the manufacturer to be right. You know, manufacturers have a tendency to be driven by profits, and the cost of trying to do profits, there's also That's, permit me for want of what, them trying to balance production process, So, but if the consumers come together and stand the ground that this product A is the right product in the marketplace, then we are endorsing products, we are helping, we're actually saving the manufacturer some of his advertising budget or marketing budget entirely, and helping him to validate that he's doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, for instance, this year we are looking for social advocacy campaigns, and we spotted one or two brands that have invested in social conversation that has to do with drinking water and smoking. And they think that these are good initiatives and they must be recognized for doing that. We will eventually reach out to them, but it's all a system where we want to ensure that there is a narrative about the consumer rights. Because if the consumer enjoys at least 75% of its rights in our market, I can guarantee you that service will improve. Look at the airline industry. You miss your flights, you have issues. But if you don't, they cancel flights, they start giving you stories. You pay, we were at the airport once when we had this experience, So what we're trying to say is that if more and more people come to the basket of they must get things right, and you use voting, which is why we are telling people to vote for brands of their choice. Of course, empirically, we know Nigeria is 200 million. We're not expecting 200 million people to vote, but we expect that the percentage of people that will come to vote will show that at least in the marketplace, some brands are doing well. They are having value to the public.
Now, how do you rate consumer appreciation efforts by Nigeria's producing companies, especially in an era of stiff competition with foreign brands?
Okay, so it's a two-way to that question, because the first thing is that the consumer is only interested in satisfaction. He's worked hard for his money, and he's going to part with his hard-earned money. So whether the brand is local or foreign, the most important is that when I get into the market, I want to buy a detergent. I'm not even interested in where the brand is coming from. What I want to do is that will it meet the basics that I'm looking for? I'm not looking at the price of the business. There's a value inherent in every brand, and that value is that if a man is exchanging his money for a material, he's expecting to get something out of it. What is he going to get? When I get to him, that thing should satisfy my need. There's an emptiness in my mind. For instance, if it's a laundry brand, I need to clean my clothes. So I'm buying it not because I like the pack. I'm buying because of what is inside. So for in Nigeria, the consumer satisfaction index that was published by a group of people recently says that we are 65%, which is very poor in terms of consumer satisfaction index, which is very, very poor if you ask me. And the people that are even making us to get D are in the tourism and telecom, so to speak. Why? Because those sectors are almost wired to talk and think satisfaction. But if you go to core manufacturing and product experience, you are not there. You can't buy a tire, permit me to say, tires in the Nigerian market. You are going to be buying tire and be thinking another 6 months I'm going to look for money to buy another one. Now 1 year. So we are very poor in terms of consumer satisfaction, whether local or international. There are so many fake products in this country, and you need people to come and say there's American standard. Why don't we have Nigerian standard? Why don't we have the British standard? We have the Nigerian Standard Organization. Can anybody go into the market today and say I'm buying based on the standard of Nigeria? Everybody wants to buy based on the standard of America. So we need to even up our game and say, look, the Nigerian Standard Organization should be able to give us a sticker that if you see it somewhere, you can trust it. Again, because I use the word trust, the challenge is that the entire society itself has a trust deficit. So consumers are in a process where they are trying to manage their trust level. Because generally we have a trust deficit as a nation, which has also affected our psyche in terms of when we go into the market. That's why you see people, when I want to buy tomato, I start turning it, and why? Because I'm trying to be sure that apart from the can that says it's expiring in 3 months' time, it has not really expired. Because we don't even trust what we read. That's it. So when it comes to consumer satisfaction, we have a long way to go, and I think it's a general thing for all of us.
That's right. You've been very bright at preempting my question. That takes me to my last question. What do you expect the Nigerian government to do to boost product manufacturing in order to escalate the country's own esteem earnings?
I think that question is always, the answer is there to everybody to see. The first thing is that if we don't have the right infrastructure, it's going to always be difficult for anybody, whether manufacturer or service provider, to sustain production. So if the government really wants people to produce and ensure that production happens the way it should happen, the first thing is that fix the infrastructure. Today there are news flying about Aba, that people want to go to Aba. Why? Because they just launched 24-hour electricity. I've started seeing circulation of news about companies wanting to go to Aba to explore. Once we take out that one infrastructure, I'm sure there will be a lot of things right in this country. Infrastructure is our major problem, and we need it. We can't even earn foreign exchange if we don't have things we are producing and selling. Either in agriculture, we are not exporting our cash crop. The other day, somebody was saying cashew is needed in somewhere in Qatar. We can't even meet 1% of the request of Qatar in terms of cashew. We can't meet it. But can we even preserve it? So there is issue around, and again, preservation talks about electricity all of a sudden. So at every value chain of manufacturing, infrastructure is the key. And in the middle of all those things is the habits, because there is the habits that has affected our trust level, which is where we have trust deficit. And so behavior of even consumers to manufacturers is also an issue. So we have a whole circle of things that if we start talking about them, I don't know if we are going to end that subject.
Thanks a lot for your attention, Mr. Akonte Ekine. God bless.
Thank you.